Portions of the following program may be pre-recorded.
AM 950, the progressive voice of Minnesota, the Matt McNeil Show for your Wednesday Hump Day edition. Matt and Patrick here today. Hope you're doing well. Jeff Stein will join us here in a little bit for his usual Wednesday visit. We got to talk about the contenders with him. A lot of other things to get to today. Patrick, how are we today?
I'm doing all right. It's been it's kind of wild outside because it's cold and sunny and icy, and it's just kind of all.
The ice kind of disappeared. So I was out this morning. I went to do my hike over at the Edina Dome. All right. Yeah. We noticed you were there. We have a petition that we don't want you to come back into our fine city, McNeil. Oh, stop it, Edina guy. Anyway, I was at the Edina Dome, which is, by the way, a fantastic facility and free to walk in. You should go hike over there. It's actually quite good. When I left this morning, it was just wet. Okay. When I left to go there. But after about an hour of hiking around that place, I come back out. It is Clay's ice. And it is bad. And then I had to take a child to a doctor's appointment, so I had to go all the way down. It was bad. But then all of a sudden the sun came out and the ice is gone. You know, we really kind of, to a point, lucked out on this storm because outside of maybe an hour of mild inconvenience driving, we really didn't get it bad. Not like they get out west of here, man. Just hammered out west of here. And it looks like this next storm is going to miss us too. This one's going to go to the south. Sucks to you guys this time of year, doesn't it? But no, we're doing okay here. It is cool. It is windy. I didn't realize how much wind evaporates the ice. I talked to Phil over at Park Tavern, and this was maybe like 5 or 6 years ago. And if you've ever been to Park Tavern, and you should go to Park Tavern, fantastic food, great bowling, good fun. You can root on your Gopher hockey and your wild hockey, all that good stuff, the T-Wolves, all that good things. He has a huge parking lot, and it was covered in ice. And I'm like, wow, I mean, do you have to pay someone to come on out here? He goes, it's going to be windy this weekend. Come back on Monday. I came back on Monday. Parking lot was clear. It was clear. The wind took care of things. So I will say I've got the after the vehicle got totaled, after I got hit by a drunk driver, I have a new Toyota Sienna, and you can tell it's been made in the South because, all right, I'm no math whiz, but if it's 42 degrees, I don't think you have to warn me about freezing, possible slippery freezing spots. I'm pretty sure. I mean, I took science. 32 is still the freeze point, right? All right. If it's 42, it's just, cold and wet. You don't have to. I get it. You get scared every time it gets below 45. It doesn't mean it's going to be icy. When it gets icy, you'll notice. This weekend, Patrick, I had the luxury of my BIL and SIL coming on over. They just got back from hiking Kilimanjaro. That Kilimanjaro in Africa. Went on safari, had a great time. But they climbed a mountain, and if it's funny, you look at some of these mountains from a distance, and it's like, oh, that doesn't look like it's too tough. Then you get up there, and it was some tough climbing for a while, kind of going straight up. And they climbed it and, summited. And it got to the question of whether or not would I want to do that. Now, I just was at Rocky Mountain National Park, a park, by the way, featured in the AM 950 National Parks calendar, a thank you gift for a premium level for our members. Go to am950radio.com to find out how you can get the thank you gift by becoming a member of AM 950. I was at the top. That is a road at Rocky Mountain National. You can drive, I think it's 12,600 or something like that. Kilimanjaro is 19,000. But I drove up there. I got out at one point and we hiked up maybe like 400 feet. It was a gradual path upwards where these hoodoos were up there. And if you've ever been to Rocky Mountain National Park, you know exactly where I'm talking about. You take this little path up and you go up there, these little hoodoos up there, and it's very cool. And it's a spectacular view. You can see Wyoming just up to the north and then Denver back down to the south. If it's a clear day, you can see a long way. It's really pretty. And so I'm up there and enjoying the view. And I'm realizing how hard it is just I mean, I am tired just walking up that hill. I was exhausted. And yeah, it's not something I would want to do. But it did give me the idea. I mean, here I am, I'm 54. I'm recovering from a broken back. Kids are soon going to be gone out of the house. So, I mean, my dad was able to go to Alaska on one of those cruises when he turned 80. So you can still do that. And the United States is still pretty good for domestic travel. It's very accessible. You can still do a lot of things up until 80. But if you do want to go outside of the US, especially in some of the areas where it might be a little bit off the beaten path, not the traditional vacation spots, I got a feeling if I want to go do something like that, I got to do this probably before I hit 60. The main one that falls into that category is Madagascar. Not because of the lemurs. No, not because of the penguins or the lemurs. That island looks amazing. I mean, it really does. It looks really cool. And it's kind of this, it's its own vibe on that island. I mean, that kind of very separate from Africa, and they've really got a very unique culture, unique, customs and stuff. The food looks really good. The beaches look sensational. You're on the Indian Ocean there. It looks pretty good. I might try to do something like that. Patrick, if you could go someplace and you want to do something now, you're still a young pup, my friend. Where is there any place off the beaten path worldwide that you want to go to?
I have to think about it because I've got a couple ideas in mind. They're not exactly off the beaten path, but someplace in like northern England. I'm thinking.
Oh, yeah, the lovely. Have you ever been up there, Liverpool in that area?
I have not.
York and everything. Gorgeous. Just it's a spectacularly gorgeous area. I loved going up to Scotland, and I went up to the Upper Islands, the Outer Hebrides, and Hebrides. I went up to the Isle of Lewis up there, and they've got the standing stones of Calanesh. It's unbelievable. It is absolutely spectacular. And we stayed at this bed and breakfast. The cook could have been a 5-star cook in Minneapolis. My God, it was unbelievable how delicious the food was. Really very entertaining. Very entertaining. Can't disagree with you there. One of the things I will say, though, I mean, in like England or Australia, New Zealand, Japan, there are, Germany, you go to some of these countries, it is actually still fairly easy to get along. So you can kind of do those in your 60s and not have too much of a problem. If you really want to go someplace off the beaten path, you want to go kind of, more rustic in a non-traditional tourist country, you want to probably knock that out before you do 60. I will say, and like I said, I'm not saying it wasn't beautiful and looked like it was fantastic, and the porters and everything looked like it was fine. They had food taken. It was really interesting. But I got to tell you the truth, I don't really have a lot of interest in that. I'd love to go visit Mount Fuji. I'd love to go visit Kilimanjaro. I'd love to go see them. I don't want to go climb them. So let me get this right. On my vacation, you want me to exercise? No. 952-946-6205. 952-946-6205. I'll get to Pence being here. I'll kind of preface Stein with Pence coming up here after the break. But I wanted to bring up something I have noticed covered in the news media in this city over the last 2 weeks. And it is stunning, the consistency of this. Now, when Republicans get ready to take an office and say they've got complete control of government, not in Minnesota. I mean, someplace, I guess, somewhere. But they're getting it ready and they've got a budget surplus. The media never has the narrative of, will they take care of everybody? Will they take care of this? It's always the mentality the media takes with Republicans in that situation is Republicans promise to pass their agenda. Republicans will push it through no matter what. This is what they're going to do. And they basically don't second guess them. They basically make it seem like this belligerence towards any other issue is integrity. And that's what they do. The complete opposite has been happening for the last 2 weeks with the media in this town and the Democrats, who have a budget surplus and who have a 1-vote majority in the Senate, which is, once again, yesterday, Patrick Cooligan and I were kind of like, okay, why you bring up the gas motor thing? Don't get me wrong. I get it. And as a matter of fact, I took 2 people who sent me numerous articles in regards to how dangerous the 2-cycle motors are and how much pollution they put out. I'm not denying that. But you're not going to pass that bill. I mean, you can pat yourself, you can pass it in the House, pat yourself on the back. It's not going to get out of the Senate. And so all you've done is giving the Republicans the ability to say they want to take away your John Deere tractor. They're trying to kill rural America. And that's what you're doing. And I'm not saying that it's not a major issue. I mean, climate change is a major issue. And I get it. You don't want to shy away from something. But once again, I don't think it's got a chance to pass the Senate. And the reality is I think you have a big pile of surplus money there, and you could go out there and offer massive tax rebates for people who get electrical, mowers and electrical leaf blowers and trimmers. And off you go. Happy dappy. Everyone's good, right? Right. So, the Democrats kind of right now, they're out there trying to feel their way through this stuff. But I think one of the things that's happening is the news media is, to a point, whether intentionally or unintentionally, trying to sabotage the DFL right now. Because over the last 2 weeks, I have seen at least 10 stories featuring some fringe issue or fringe group with the narrative of, won't the DFL with their surplus think about them? Sort of thing. Now, I'm going to bring up Peruvian goats. Now, I'm not bringing up Peruvian goats to dismiss or diminish any of these organizations or issues as they are, but that it is a fringe issue. This is something that I'm consistently seeing. But I'm going to bring up Peruvian goats. Why won't the DFL think of Peruvian goats? They've got a surplus. Why are they failing the Peruvian goat problem? And you're like, wow, really? Because, I mean, they're tackling a lot of big issues outside of the times when they, get sidetracked on some of these things. And they seem to be doing a pretty dang good job of it right now. But the media seems to be trying to goat. See what I did there? Yeah. Trying to goat the DFL into picking up every fringe idea and trying to give everyone a spoon so everyone can get in the kitchen and stir the pot. And you've got to have, and once again, I'm not saying that the DFL is failing. I think that they're doing a lot to address certain issues and a lot of things that they're doing really well on. As a matter of fact, isn't it refreshing to have a legislature get bills out and signed in February, in January? My God, it's a Christmas miracle. But the news media right now is trying to goat the DFL, or at the very least, intentionally or not, make them look like they're not compassionate because they're not taking care of the Peruvian goats. If they were really compassionate DFLers, the Peruvian goats would be taken care of. And I got to be honest with you. Now, once again, I brought up Peruvian goats just to kind of use it as an example because I don't want to throw any individual organization or issue under the bus. But some of these things that the media is trying to bash on the DFL about are really fringe things that I'm not saying that the people that got their elevator pitch ready to go on that issue can't put forward a fairly decent argument. But, you got healthcare you guys deal with here in the state of Minnesota. You've got education you got to deal with here. You've got the cost of freaking daycare you got to deal with here. These are minor issues that need to get hashed out. They're doing their best to, my God, Department of Natural Resources and the environment, they're doing their best right now to try get things taken care of that should have been taken care of decades ago, but Republicans have stonewalled. Like, the chronic wasting disease and the PFASs I was talking about yesterday. There are things which are really important, which you need to kind of address, because due to Republicans and their, no, you sit down and shut up, we are in control of the Senate. Well, now they're not. And we're actually having hearings. We're actually having a lot of public dialogue. And we're getting some things done. So DFL, first of all, do not allow the media to override a legitimate agenda. But that being said, news media, come on, stop it, man. Because you would never do this with the Republicans. You would never bring up when will the Republicans think about the Peruvian goats? You wouldn't do that. You just wouldn't. And you know you wouldn't. And if I can say that and you can say that too, then we're both admitting you have a bias. Just saying. 952-946-6205. 952-946-6205. Oh, the large marble sculpture that used to be our vice president was in town. We'll talk about Pence when we do return. It's the Matt McNeil Show right here on AM 950.
This is Angela Warner with Warner Stallion. As a mother of 5, believe me, I'm all about getting the best deals. I'm always looking for a way to save money without compromising on quality. I guess it runs in the family. Because at Warner Stallion, we have a team of buyers who are obsessed with getting appliance deals that no one else has. Like right now, we have thousands of appliances in stock at the best price. Then we give you an extra 5% back and fast free delivery. Put us to the test and see for yourself at our 10 Minnesota stores and at warnerstallion.com.
The Merity family of companies serves seniors and people with a wide range of disabilities. We provide home health care, hospice services, and accessible rental housing. This is Mary T, and we'd like you to join us. We're hiring direct care professionals, CNAs, nurses, and other support services. Our mission is to provide quality, personalized services to meet the unique and evolving needs of the people that we serve. Join a Minnesota family-owned company that was founded on a history of care. Apply today at marytinc.com/careers.
Crooner's Supper Club invites you to enjoy drinks, a delicious dinner, and live music from both big-name local and national artists in a wide array of styles. Before or after your show, check out the new Maggie's Lounge, a perfect spot to visit with friends. It's open Wednesdays through Sundays beginning at 4:30 with cocktails and light fare. And you don't need a ticket to enjoy the great atmosphere of Maggie's. Crooner's Supper Club off Moore Lake and Highway 65. A little piece of old school nightlife in the 21st century.
This is Frank Brown, owner of Minuteman Press Uptown. We've been working with political campaigns and nonprofits for years, helping with their printing and promotional needs. Year after year, campaigns and organizations come back to us because we deliver on time. Our team has over 100 years of experience, and we have 2 graphic designers on staff. We know running a political campaign is very dynamic with last-minute deadlines. At Minuteman Press, we are ready for the last-minute job and will make it happen. We print T-shirts, lawn signs, door hangers, bumper stickers, lit pieces, postcard mailers that we can assist with targeting and so much more. We are the only minority-owned union print shop in Minnesota, and we stand up for racial, social, and economic justice. Choose the company that matches your values for your political campaigns, printing, and promotional needs. We have a 5-star rating on Google with over 150 reviews. See what our customers are saying about us. Call Minuteman Press Uptown at 612-870-0777 or visit mpuptown.com. Minuteman Press Uptown. We print everything.
AM 950, the progressive voice of Minnesota, the Matt McNeil Show. 952-946-6205, Stein in about 10 minutes from right now. Former Vice President and large marshmallow Mike Pence stopped in Minnesota Wednesday to crusade against school policy supporting transgender students and call for parents to have more say over their children's education. Can I stop? Once again, if I can criticize the media in this town, why aren't you guys asking the obvious question when it comes to Republicans and transgender policy? That you want to be able to, you want to legally be able to discriminate against transgender people. That's what you want to do. They don't want to admit that because they realize that gives up the game, but that's what they want to do. I mean, that's it. They want to discriminate against, want to make discrimination against transgender people completely 100% legal. That they could that basically they could do anything up to murder them and say, well, they're transgender. What are you supposed to do? And so the question the media needs to ask these guys, and someone should have put a microphone in Pence's face pie hole and said, so you want to make it illegal to discriminate against transgender people? And then watch them go, happy. Because they don't, that's what they want to do. It just is they're dependent on the news media to not frame it so basically. It's about parents' rights. No. You want to make it legal for people to discriminate against transgender people, correct? Because they don't want to admit that, but it's the truth. Anyway, back to the jar of marshmallow fluff. We gather here today because there's a fight underway. There's a fight over the destiny of our children and the survival of parental rights. Pence, in a ramped-up mood, told a crowd about 70 supporters gathered at the Minneapolis club. 70, you say? In Minneapolis, St. Paul, you got 70 people, huh? Well, it's time for Matt's Math Corner. Oh, God. Let's see. Here's a calculator. So 70, and we'll just divide that by 3.6 million people. Divided by 26, 0, equals, wow. So he was managed to, Mike Pence, the former vice president of the United States, in Minneapolis for his big rally, pulled in 0.0019%. Now, that's moving the decimal point. 0.0019% of the population. Wow. I think we all can come to the obvious conclusion. A lot of people are catching Mike Pence fever and decided to stay home and find some antibiotics on that one. The Republicans' appearance in the downtown event comes as GOP presidential contenders are starting to enter the 2024 race. Former United Nations Ambassador Nikki Haley says she'll take on Trump. Pence has not said whether he'll join the candidate pool, although he's been traveling the country, releasing a new book a few months ago. After his Minneapolis appearance, he was bound for Iowa, which remains a Republican's first stop in the presidential nomination process. He's going to be in Cedar Rapids, down there with a rally where a conservative group has sued the Linn-Mar Community School District over a policy that allows students to limit parent or guardian's role in gender support they receive at the school. The district policy states it will support transgender students, gender non-conforming students, and those questioning their gender. Students in 7th grade or older have priority over their support plan rather than their parents holding control. The district does not reveal a student's transgender status to others, including parents, unless the student has authorized the release of that information or is legally required. The policy also says every student has the right to be addressed by a name or pronoun that corresponds with their gender identity. Staff or students are in violation of school board policies if they intentionally or persistently refuse to respect a student's gender identity. Once again, what does Mike Pence want to do? I want to make it possible for you to legally discriminate against transgender people. And that's their policy. They don't want to say it like that, but that's their policy. And I personally have no problem with this. As a matter of fact, I commend the Linn-Mar School District down there for their commitment to the mental health and well-being of the students. The parent group, Parents Defending Education, is trying to enforce all of the policies. Their lawsuit contends the district is violating parents' constitutional rights to make decisions in the upbringing of their children, infringing on people's First Amendment rights by requiring them to use a student's preferred pronouns. Funny. Wait a second here. I want to stop for a second. Isn't it funny that the same people who say you can't have an abortion because the second a woman becomes pregnant, when it's just a small little clumping of cells, that's a human being and it's got individual rights. It's a human being with individual rights. But when that clump of cells becomes 14 years old and is in an aggressive household, which is beating them because they don't like the gender identity of the individual, and this individual then confides in a school worker in their gender identity journey, they're not, those aren't human beings. Those are like knickknacks on a counter for a Republican. Are you just going to tell Republicans they can't have knickknacks on their counter? Yeah. I'll just put it this way. I had my kids went to the doctor, and at 16 years old, when they'd go in, they basically were, I wasn't in there, and they'd talk to the doctor, and it was none of my damn business, because if they have things they want to talk about with the doctor, I want them to talk about them with the doctor. And that's called being a parent. There's just way too many parents are basically, they're taking their hate and then using their children as a prop to basically try to force legal bullying and discrimination against a group of people because I just don't like them. Well, then don't be one. All right. If you don't like that, then don't go down that path, but let everyone else do it and stop being a jerk. Okay. Speaking of that, Pence, it was in Iowa. We'll talk to Stein about that. All the other contenders as well. Jeff Stein, when we do return, 952-946-6205, 952-946-6205. It's the Matt McNeil Show right here on AM 950.
Winter is here, and there's a good chance your home isn't being heated efficiently. And it's likely because of air sealing and insulation problems. Inadequate attic insulation is the leading contributor to high energy bills, cold rooms, and ice dams. Great news, the energy-efficient pros at Snap Construction can fix it all. Stop the heat from leaking out and save. Call 612-333-SNAP or visit snapconstruction.com for your free infrared energy inspection. Install with Snap Construction and qualify for over $750 in rebates and incentives. State and city programs are now offering 0% financing for qualifying insulation upgrades. So call Snap Construction for your free insulation energy consultation and start saving on your energy bills. Call 612-333-SNAP. That's 612-333-SNAP. Or visit snapconstruction.com. Snap Construction is arguably the most well-reviewed insulation and exterior contractor in the metro area. Visit snapconstruction.com.
We at AM 950 wanted to offer more thank you gifts for the great listeners who have become members. Brand new for 2023, AM 950 has the new National Parks poster featuring photos I took at the national parks. Members who sign up for a one-time $99.50 membership or recurring $25 per month membership will receive the brand new AM 950 National Parks poster and the AM 950 2023 calendar as a thank you. Go to am950radio.com, click on the tab, and become a member now. Thank you so much for supporting AM 950, the progressive voice of Minnesota.
Turn to Auto Technical with your vehicle donation. Even though Auto Technical is a small nonprofit, we have helped more families with transportation than any organization in Minnesota. Since '94, we have reconditioned donated vehicles so they have a higher tax benefit. Call Richard at 612-919-5526, 612-919-5526, or autotech.org.
Hey, it's Tom. With fossil fuel energy costs continuing to rise, it's time to stabilize your business's expenses with a new commercial solar system from All Energy Solar. A system from All Energy Solar has a life of 25 to 30 years, allowing you to lock in your electric rates without worrying about endless rate increases. All Energy Solar has worked with businesses of all sizes and types and can customize a solution for you. Solar solutions for your business are completely scalable, so you never need to worry that you're paying for more system than you actually need. Plus, All Energy Solar can help you find all the relevant tax credits at the federal and local level. They include up to a 50% federal tax credit, deducting depreciation from your system up to 100%, and more. And while it's certainly good to save on your utility costs, your customers will appreciate working with a business that prioritizes reducing their environmental impact. Get a free, no-obligation assessment from All Energy Solar's commercial solar specialists by calling 800-620-3370 or visiting allenergysolar.com.
How have you been sleeping? I'm Dr. Inel Rosario from Andros ENT and Sleep Center, an independently owned clinic helping Minnesotans live and sleep better. We are experts at treating ear, nose, and throat issues and are equipped with an audiology and sleep center. Take the first steps to a better night's sleep and better health. Online at androsent-sleep.com. That's androsent-sleep.com. Or call 651 888-7800.
With a look at your AM 950 weather, I'm Patrick Lulia. Sunshine today with a high of 23, then cloudy tonight with a low of 7 above. The locally owned Vinaigrette has been offering the finest olive oils and vinegars since 2009. That's Vinaigrette, Xerxes Avenue and 50th Street in Minneapolis, or at vinaigrettemn.com.
Jeff. J-E-F-F, Jeff. J-E-F-F, Jeff. J-E-F-F, Jeff.
Jeff Stein is our national and presidential expert, noted author. Find his books over at Next Chapter Books, as well as totallyiowa.com. The Iowa Politics Report and the Iowa Business Report come to us from KXEL in Cedar Falls, Waterloo. Hi, Jeff.
Matthew, you are a sight for sore eyes. And I looked up at the screen. I was making notes. I looked up at the screen and you were coming back to the chair. I didn't realize. I mean, I see the brace that you're wearing across the front. Yeah. Do you have like a whole medical team and a backpack in the back? What's going on back there?
I've got that Darth Vader pod behind me in this wall. I need to get in there. It helps me.
I mean, folks, the man walks back to his chair and it's like he's, Major Matt Mason and the Mattel jetpack from the 60s is what it looked like. But I'm glad to see you're back in studio. That is so good.
The jetpack. I can only wish, I'm more machine than man now. And, I'm not really cool with this. That RoboCop, that was not a good thing, man. I've kind of figured that one out on my own.
Well, maybe AI, you'll be living AI soon enough.
Oh, good. Well, at least then I'll look better because I've seen all the AI images of people. So at least I'll look like I'm a Victorian, princess or something like that. Hey,
princess. You're a Victorian princess.
Damn right I am.
We cannot unsee that, but it's very good to see you back in the chair.
Oh, okay. I can make the joke. I'm a little less hairy than Queen Victoria. No, I'm sorry. Why would I say such a horrible thing?
It's not wrong if you can back it up with facts.
I think that's, we'll have to get through that thicket. Anyway.
Oh, wow.
There you go. Thank you. Mike Pence was in town, Minneapolis, St. Paul, city of 3.6 million people. He had 70 people show up for him today. I think the reason why it's okay. He's a former vice president. He didn't exactly have the greatest boss, but I think that the reality is Trump picked kind of like George H.W. Bush picking quail. He picked a guy who he knew there was just no chance on the planet could actually win the White House on their own, but looked, and I like regal enough for the position. And I think the thing that Mike Pence doesn't realize is he's the last one to figure that one out.
Well, it's and the Quayle example is great because Quayle thought he was a presidential nominee for 5 minutes.
Well,
and I get
it. I told you about that interview I did with him back at KASI KCCQ. I talked to him when he was going to do the Iowa straw poll in 2000, and he came up and he said, "I'm from Colorado, so I'm from the Midwest." And I'm like, "Sweet Jesus, man, no, Colorado is not the Midwest." It's just, but it was kind of like he was so ill prepared for it. Yeah. I mean, he didn't last long. I think he was the first one out. But
and the thing, and we've talked about this before on your fine radio program, Trump wanted to pick someone who would not overshadow him.
Exactly.
And realistically, you want someone, this is a tricky thing for any presidential nominee. You want your number two, your vice presidential choice, to be able to fill in if needed. God forbid, but you don't want them to be so competent that the audience is looking going, I kind of like the other guy. And Pence fit that well. He looks good. This is central casting, right? Yeah. You want to pick a presidential, an actor to play president? He'd be fine. You'll notice he right now is speaking just down the road, and I could be there, but I said, no, Wednesdays at 3:30. That's Matt time. And I am not leaving the building. I don't care if he was vice president. He knows where I am. And so you're welcome.
Of course, first of all, Trump's never going to live in Pence's shadow because Pence actually generates light. Anyway, he's kind of like a nightlight. You can put him in your kids' room and the kids won't they'll get scared at night, but for different reasons.
Very
anyway,
good.
there you go. No, I know he's down there.
Yeah.
And they're all into this. It's now the primary, and I'll get to DeSantis, and I'm going to get to Nikki Haley here in a second. Yeah. But he's up here. It's all about transgender. The problem, and I brought this up this last segment. I said, okay, why is the media not just asking? It's like, so your policy is you want to be able to legally discriminate against transgender people. That's the policy, which it is. That's kind of what they want to do. And no one is asking that question. But when they do start asking that question, there's no real good answer to that question outside of trying to scream parental rights. But that's kind of where they're going. They know this is how you win the Republican primary, the scramble to the far right. But if this is all they're bringing to the table in 2024, transgender, I don't know if that's going to be enough for them to get 20% of the non-Republican, far-right Republican vote.
It's not even a popular issue, frankly, among many Republicans.
No, it isn't, actually. Yeah.
And so here's the problem with Pence. And to a lesser extent, but also with Nikki Haley, since you mentioned her. And she's now officially a candidate. And no, I'm not going to go see her next week either.
Okay.
Because again, Matt,
where's she going to be in your town next week?
She's going to be in Cedar Rapids.
Well, get her for the show, man. Let me ask you a few questions.
Get her for the show.
Yeah.
Okay, sure.
We'll send her own video stream link. And I mean, I'll let you ask the first question, but I got the second one. Okay.
I bet. I'm looking to my left. Tulsi Gabbard sat in that chair right there. So we bring people on. I'm just not, but again, they know where I am. They come here because I'm kind of a big deal.
Okay.
To quote Ron Burgundy, people know me, Matt. But so here's the problem with Pence and to a lesser degree Haley. They have no natural constituency.
No.
Okay. And this is a huge problem because Pence is not going to win over the Trumpicans, right? The people who voted for Trump to a large degree, think Pence is a traitor.
Yes.
And they're not about to vote for him.
Yes.
But because Pence was aligned with Trump, you've got the other side who think, well, he's really not one of us. And a lot of Republicans forget the Trump aspect. They didn't think that Pence was a good foot soldier in the abortion debate. And so he has no constituency. So that's why I would suggest he wants to show up at the religious right conferences, why he wants to bring up an issue that really isn't an issue right now. And that is that very school district that you referenced in the last segment. Yeah. I mean, there's no real fight on that policy. It's been taken care of. Okay. Why be the out of town agitator? The very thing that the right says the left does. Well, what are you doing here, Pence? You're going to hold an event and stir stuff up that really isn't even an active issue in a desperate attempt to find some constituency. Nikki Haley's a little different situation, but she's really starting from scratch in Iowa because, yes, she was the UN ambassador. She was ambassador to the United Nations from the U.S. She was the governor of South Carolina. We got a lot of governors who come through here. Okay, that's nice and good for her. But again, you're going to have to start from scratch. Pompeo has a similar issue, and he's been here as if it's his second home. Tim Scott comes here regularly, and he will be coming back again. Those names all, by the way, were top of mind because, this welcome to February in Iowa, the year before a caucus. And none of them have a natural base, and they're hoping to find one here. And I don't know. I don't know where they're going to find it.
I think let's look at the issue itself, the transgender issue, because you brought it up in the way you brought it up. It dawned on me what you were saying. They've lost abortion. I mean, abortions, they really can't argue. It's been overturned. And, in their own states, they can make it as illegal as they want to make it.
Mm-hmm.
It's not an issue. They need to get that far right Christian element jazzed up about the base, because those are the most loyal foot soldiers they can have in a presidential election. That is, correct me if I'm wrong. This is the whole point about the transgender thing is they're trying to find an issue that will get that extreme far right Christian base excited. But I'm not sure if transgender, students being able to legally discriminate against transgender students in school districts and tormenting kids and being able to legally bully them. I don't know if that's necessarily something that's going to resonate as well as the anti-abortion, message did.
It's great in the abstract for them. Okay. And what I mean by that is you can say parents should have the right to information about their minor child. Okay. That sentence, and I heard what you said about your kids going to the doctor. And again, you're a parent. I'm not. So I don't play in that field. But that sounds like a good talking point. But it's when you get down to the brass tacks. And it's very difficult for there to be the widespread agitation on something that may not be an issue where the individual happens to live. And again, the out-of-town agitator thing, I don't think wears well. Now, I'm not offering an opinion about the policies of that particular school. I do know that any school that has no policy or any school that says parents are going to be notified, quote unquote notified, all the counselor has to do, all the teacher has to do as a mandatory reporter is contact human services and say, this child is at fear for repercussion from home and it's game over. Okay. Now I'm simplifying all of it. And I'm not, what I'm saying is if they didn't have the school policy, you could still protect the kid. But this is political opportunism, no different than when the governor up for re-election last year and a member of Congress up for re-election last year organized a meeting with parents to get them fired up about this issue. Now, as it turned out, neither one of those politicians was in trouble come election day. They both got more than 60% of the vote. But again, it feels like opportunism, and I just don't think it's going to wear well. Issue notwithstanding, optics, I don't think are going to wear well, Matt, at all.
Well, and then the other issue was gay marriage. And yeah, you've had some Republicans saying we need to revisit this. And Clarence Thomas said that they want to revisit this. I don't think the conservative justices on that court want to, though, because even in Republican, I'll just talk about the large metro area that I'm in right now. Sure. Even when you get to the tertiary suburbs, it's a fairly pro-gay crowd. And, so if you're out in kind of the suburbs that vote Republican, and they're like, okay, wait a minute here. We work with people who are gay. Our friends are gay. We've got family members that are gay. No, we're not going to go along with this. So they've lost that issue. They're trying to make transgender some sort of, rallying point. The reality is correct me if I'm wrong, because I'm thinking about what Christian social issue they could bring forward that could resonate like, their anti-Roe v. Wade messaging was for all those years. There's not, they really kind of have to step back and reimagine how they're going to approach this, correct?
Oh, I think so. I think so, because again, there was a mobilizing issue for 49 years.
Yeah.
They raised money. They were able to do all manner of things. And it doesn't have the same sting when you say, as a right-wing Republican, raise money, give me money so that we can make sure that they don't overturn the overturning. That's no argument. Yeah. It doesn't resonate. Saving babies from certain death, that can resonate. All right. If that's the phraseology we're using. There is no issue other than broad moral direction of the country. Now, if you're a Republican, you could say, I don't like all of the public transgender. I don't love all the in-your-face sort of thing, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. That's their terminology, okay? But that's broad, right? Mm-hmm. And that's hard to win. That's hard to make a sale on something broad. But if you can point to one school district's policy that you don't really even understand, but it's a talking point, yeah, you're right. That's all that is there. I think that those who want to win the Christian conservative vote, if they simply say increased morality, and you interpret that however you want, that potentially is an issue. But again, it doesn't have the same legs as something specific. I do want to mention, when you're talking about the overturning of Roe on gay marriage, Iowa was one of the first states in the union to legalize same gender marriage.
Indeed.
And we were, and this goes back, I think, 5 to 8 years before same gender marriage was legal. A district judge in Iowa granted a same-gender divorce. Now, you may say, how in the world can that be? And my answer to that is what I think should let everybody just take a breath back on the whole issue. It was a couple that was married, and I think 2 women, I think married, in a state that allowed it. They then moved to Iowa. Well, then they wanted to get a divorce. Because of the full faith and credit clause in the Constitution, that Iowa District Court judge in Sioux City had to grant their divorce, even though their marriage would not have been consummated. Their marriage, they couldn't get married, but they could get divorced because it was a legal marriage from another state.
Mm-hmm.
So the reason why Iowa's granting of same-gender marriage came about is, frankly, taxation. Because you're providing a benefit to married couples that you don't provide to single couples. And that's human, single humans. So if you are giving a man and a woman as a married couple a tax benefit, you have to give it to a woman and a woman or a man and a man. And I say human because you remember what we heard when that Supreme Court decision was handed down in Iowa. Well, now people will be marrying their dogs. Dogs aren't human.
Nope.
Okay, so
and that was the fear stuff. That was
absolutely. But that's the point about why the Supreme Court does not want to take up this issue, Matt, because this has to do with the government giving a marriage license to 2 individuals, and it confers upon those individuals then other benefits. And if you deny it to a same-gender couple, you're going to have to get rid of the legal institution of marriage altogether. Now, I'm not saying I agree or disagree. I'm just saying that's the fact. Based on legal interpretation.
Well, and here's the deal. I'm going to go back to the point you made after that, which that was very well stated. The reality is this: if they're going to try to do this on social issues, you talked about the one school district in Iowa. Yep. They could try to find one thing in each state. They get off the plane. What am I upset about? I'm upset about a water processing plant. Okay, now we're upset about the water processing plant. Get back in the plane. Go to a new state. I'm upset at the school district. Get on a plane. I'm upset about an abortion policy. Maybe that's where the Republicans go with their outrage meter. It just has to be much more localized because no one in Iowa cares what Minnesota's doing. No one in Minnesota cares what Iowa's doing. So you can't rally up the base in Minnesota because did you see what they're doing down there in Iowa? We don't care. So I think that's where it's going to end up going. We got to take a break. I want to come back. I want to talk about Nikki Haley because I don't think she's got a chance as well. And maybe get to Ron DeSantis as well. 952-946-6205, 952-946-6205. We'll take a break. Come on back. The Matt McNeil Show on a Wednesday. Hi, Matt McNeil here. On December 8th, I was driving home in my Toyota Sienna from Rudy Luther Toyota. At a traffic light, a car slammed into me. Without a doubt in my mind, if I hadn't been driving a Sienna, I wouldn't be here right now. The car is designed to take a wallop and keep the people inside safe, as it did for me. It's one thing to hear someone talk about safety standards. It's another to become an example of the safety standards. The Toyota saved my life, and I will always own one. If you want real safety, visit Rudy Luther Toyota. Rudy Luther Toyota, the corner of 394 and 169 in Golden Valley.
Eat Local Minnesota is a great way to find locally owned Minnesota restaurants and food purveyors. You'll find high-quality food and unique eating experiences with dishes from around the world. Just visit eatlocalminnesota.com for your next meal. Come visit the award-winning Hazel's Northeast in Minneapolis for breakfast, lunch, dinner, or weekend brunch. For breakfast, try the slow-cooked brisket hash, hippie cakes, and meat waffle. While for lunch, enjoy favorites like the buttermilk fried chicken sandwich or veggie burger. Hazel's is open Tuesdays through Saturdays, 8 to 8, with a Sunday brunch from 8 to 2. Located off 29th and Johnson in Northeast Minneapolis. More at hazelsne2go.com. If you're craving barbecue, then don't drive too fast or you will miss Scott Jamama's Hot Barbecue, located at 3 West Diamond Lake Road in Minneapolis. Scott Jamama's offers mouth-watering baby back ribs, grilled chicken, and half-pound pulled pork sandwiches. The potato salad, spicy baked beans, and twice-baked potatoes should not be missed. More details at scottjamamas.com.
Hi, this is Laura. Listen to Food Freedom Radio every Saturday at 8 a.m. or anytime via podcast. Our individual health is connected to the health of each other and connected to the health of the earth. We know the problems with the dominant food system: climate change, deadening soils, nitrates in the water, factory farming, injustice, concentration of wealth. how do we both as individuals and as a community step up and support a living food system which honors the earth? Tune to Food Freedom Radio every Saturday at 8 a.m. and remember to support your independent farmers.
AM 950, the progressive voice of Minnesota. It's the Matt McNeil Show. Jeff Stein joining us with his weekly visit. Jeff, Nikki Haley, I don't disagree with her at all. I think she's right in the sense being that that the Republican Party needs to take a new direction, just for the point what we just pointed out in the last hour or the last segment, which was that this is a party that's kind of lost their driving momentum, and they're trying to find something to catch fire again. And it doesn't look like it's going to happen like this. But the reality is I think Nikki Haley sees that the politics of alienating other groups is not working. You had to have much more of a traditional Reagan Republican moderate voice. So that's what she's trying to do. I don't think if she can't read the room, I'll be blunt. I don't think she has a chance in a primary because, as you said, for many years, the primary is about finding the person that appeals to the far extreme right or the left, depending on which party. And the reality is she just doesn't have the chops, I think, to win over the far right Republicans.
At this point, the only person who has a chance of denying Donald Trump the nomination, other than Donald Trump, is Ron DeSantis. The others are just kind of positioning in case the Trump house of cards falls apart and they want to be ready. And I stated this a week ago, but not very artfully, so I'll be quick and hopefully smarter about it. Back in 92, everybody thought H.W. Bush was unbeatable, and a lot of the top Democrats did not run in 92. And then that led to Bill Clinton getting the nomination. I mean, you had Tsongas, you had McGovern, okay? I mean, it was one of these where it's a throwaway. Well, a funny thing happened. Bush's popularity failed because of the economy. Clinton was in position. He won the nomination and then served 8 years. And so for some of these people, it's like, what do I got to lose? I got no other paying gig. So let's let my PAC send me around the country and maybe lightning will strike. Maybe I'll get to be the number 2. Maybe. But Nikki Haley does not have any sort of a great constituency here. Pompeo has a better chance because of the evangelical right connections he already had. Pence has burned his bridge with those. Tim Scott's trying hard, but, again, he's a senator from South Carolina and he's got friends in this state. But that's a broader national issue about whether it's time for someone with his experience level.
The DeSantis issue. Today, there's a story floating around. Apparently, he said it was a joke. The schools pulled the Roberto Clemente book off the shelves. The reality is I went and looked at analysis. The way that they wrote that law, basically, it doesn't give any guidance about what is off limits. And so quite literally, the school district yanked off every book about a black individual or a minority individual because they didn't want to be seen as pandering to the woke mob. And he's trying desperately to say, go look at the school district, go look at the school district. We didn't say this. But his defense of this, I think he would have been better off if he would have come out and said, yeah, I mean, the school districts are entitled to pull off all those books. If they don't feel the Roberto Clemente book is wrong, I wouldn't pull it off, but they can do that. That would have been the answer that would appeal to the far right and that he's trying to appeal to. But the reality is he stumbled that badly.
No, I think you're right. And he's trying to stay low profile through the legislative session and not make any announcement about presidential ambitions until May or June. The question is, will he be able to keep his head down, not stumble nationally before that deadline that he has imposed?
I think Trump will try to destroy him, frankly.
Already has. Yeah.
Absolutely. Find Jeff's books over at Next Chapter Books. I'll post the Iowa Politics Report a little bit later on. Jeff, outstanding as always. We will talk to you next week. Thank you, sir.
Yes, sir. Good to see you.
Good to see you, my friend. Hour 2, that's coming up next.
Hey, it's Patrick. February is the month for love, but when was the last time you gave your carpet the love and attention it really deserves? If your carpet hasn't been professionally cleaned, you are breathing unhealthy levels of nasty dirt, dander, bacteria, and germs that keep recirculating again and again. And what's worse, you're going to be stuck inside breathing that nasty stuff for months. Lucky for you, Zero Res is going to spread the love for you and your home with their Love Your Rug special. Get 3 rooms, 0 resified from the Twin Cities' #1 carpet cleaner starting at just $119. Plus, this month only, they are throwing in a free hallway to sweeten the deal. But hurry, this deal won't last long. And because love has no limits, Zero Res is going to take $75 off your air duct cleaning. You owe it to yourself and your family to breathe healthy, happy, and clean. Call Zero Res right now, 952-ZERO-RES, or go online at ZeroResMinnesota.com and say you want the AM 950 special. Zero Res.
Standing Up to the Hatriots, the David Pakman Show, weekdays at 2 p.m. on AM 950 KTNF St. Louis Park, Minneapolis, St. Paul, the progressive voice of Minnesota.
AP News, I'm Ed Donahue. In Buffalo, New York, Peyton Gendron was sentenced to life in prison for the shooting deaths of 10 black people at a local supermarket. The white man apologized to the families of the victims. He was sentenced by Judge Susan Egan.
There is no place for you or your ignorant, hateful, and evil ideologies in a civilized society. There can be no mercy for you, no understanding, no second chances.
Anger briefly turned physical in court after a victim's family member rushed after Gendron from the audience. Former Vice President Mike Pence says he'll challenge a subpoena by the special counsel overseeing investigations into efforts by former President Donald Trump and allies to overturn the results of the 2020 election, and will go all the way to the Supreme Court if he has to. Her agent says Raquel Welch has died. She was 82. Here's the AP's Margie Zaraletta.
Raquel Welch had all of 3 lines in the film 1 Million Years BC, but it made her a star, primarily because of the animal skin bikini she wore in it. Welch told reporters in 2001 it was hard to overcome being a sex symbol.
It's not all that much fun. As I was coming up to 40, I was looking for breadcrumbs along the road of sex symboldom, you know. Okay, now what do I do next? And I couldn't find any that were very positive.
While Welch appeared in other lusty roles, she also won acclaim for her performances in The Three Musketeers, in the James Coco film Wild Party, and in the TV movie Right to Die. I'm Margie Zaraletta.
The acting head of the Federal Aviation Administration says the agency has taken steps to avoid a repeat of the tech failure last month that briefly shut down all flights nationwide. But Billy Nolan says he couldn't promise it won't happen again.
We will continue on this journey of modernization. I've asked and I've directed our teams to look at what is our ability to accelerate that timeline.
The Dow finished up 38 points. This is AP News.
Paid for by Christian Care Ministry.
Let's see, if something costs less, but people are happier with it, that sounds like something to look into, and that's MediShare. Maybe you've heard switching to MediShare to pay for healthcare can save the typical family $500 a month, and that's huge, but it's also true that people are way more satisfied after making the switch, too. The customer satisfaction rate for MediShare is double that of the typical health insurance plan. MediShare works. It's been around for more than a quarter century, and members have shared more than $3 billion of each other's bills. People love having telehealth and a huge nationwide PPO network. So, yeah, you can save a ton and like it better. Imagine being happy with how you're taking care of your health care. So if you're self-employed or part of the gig economy, or you just want a plan you're happy with, you can call right now and get a price within 2 minutes. A very, very smart use of 2 minutes. Here's the number you need. 855-51-BIBLE. That's 855-51-BIBLE. 855-51-BIBLE.
Nightingale is your cozy, comfortable neighborhood restaurant in the Whittier neighborhood at 26th and Lindale. Nightingale has patio, dining room, and bar seating available. Plus, they still have takeout and delivery. Their menu has lots of delicious options like the famous Nightingale burger and fries, ginger tamari chicken wings, smoked chicken liver pate, and more. They're open from 5 p.m. to 1 a.m. daily with their full menu until midnight. So make the friendly neighborhood Nightingale your go-to restaurant in South Minneapolis. Place an order, make a reservation, and more at nightingalempls.com.
Cashback is not available on gas in New Jersey and Wisconsin.
John, what are you doing? Get in my car. Why are you walking to work?
Thanks, man. It's these insanely high gas prices. They are draining my bank account. I can't afford to drive anymore.
Dude, don't walk. Just do what I do, because I never pay full price for gas anymore. I use the free Upside app that pays you cash back for every gallon of gas you buy.
Wait, you're telling me you get paid cash when you buy gas with the Upside app?
Yes, I get real cash back every time I buy gas.
Does that actually add up to anything?
I'll make a around $200.
Wow, that's serious extra cash. I'm downloading the free Upside app now.
Download the free Upside app now to earn real cash back every time you buy gas. Use promo code SMART for an extra 25 cents a gallon bonus on your first tank. That's promo code SMART. You can cash out anytime right to your bank account, to PayPal, or an e-gift card for Amazon and other brands. Just download the free Upside app and use promo code SMART for a 25 cents a gallon bonus on your first tank. That's code SMART.
With a look at your AM 950 weather, I'm Patrick Lilia. Sunshine today with a high of 23, then cloudy tonight with a low of 7 above.
This is Angela Warner with Warner Stellian. If you've got a broken appliance or one you wish would break, don't settle for poor selection and don't pay a penny more than you should. Warner Stellian has thousands of in-stock appliances. Shop now at warnerstellian.com.
Portions of the following program may be pre-recorded.
Hour number 2 of the show on your Wednesday. Good to be with you. Matt and Patrick here today. 952-946-6205. 952-946-6205. By the way, thank you very much to Todd Cullen, sponsoring AM 950 all this week. And Todd used to live here, moved overseas, likes to sponsor the station, and so he does. And we are very grateful for that. You can too. 952-946-8885. 952-946-8885 for more information about that. He wants us to make sure you know about Lifeline Ukraine, an incredible service that is available over in Ukraine for the people there. Mental health services, suicide prevention, available for people there. And as you can imagine, a highly needed resource at this point, just as much as anything else. Lifeline Ukraine does an amazing amount of work. They need your donation, though. Go over to Lifeline Ukraine. I'll put a link up there a little bit later on today on the social media pages. Make a donation. Help them out. Thank you very much. I greatly appreciate it. 952-946-6205. 952-946-6205. So sometimes when I go for a hike, and so, I mean, I am stuck hiking. And by the way, if you are going to get your back broken, let me tell you about this. This is 0 stars because it happened in December 8th. So basically, happening so early in winter, I'm very limited because the one thing they'll all tell you, and as a matter of fact, I was at a medical appointment today, and he says, can't fall. You cannot fall. And that's what they say. You cannot fall. That is the most dangerous thing you can do with a back injury until you're completely healed. And so I'm having to walk inside I talk about the Edina Dome. I go to the YMCA. I'd rather do the Edina Dome because that's like 13 laps is like 3 miles. And I can do that. And if I want to do that at the Y, that's like 50 some laps. That's very gerbil in the wheel thing, man. That's very gerbil in the wheel. And I do know the Mall of America and stuff like that. And a lot of the malls are open for mall walkers, but I'm sorry. It's a little bit hard to walk past when Cinnabon is wafting their cinnamon fumes at me. So I try to limit where it's like, I know you're exercising, but who doesn't want a Wurzel pretzel? Plus, I mean, I'd have coffee in my hand every floor, seriously, in the morning. What I do occasionally is I'll throw on a podcast. I have been listening. I've had 2 of my friends highly suggest the Smartless podcast, which is Jason Bateman, Will Arnett, and Sean Hayes. And if you've not heard it, it's quite good. Arnett gets a little, jerkish at times, but they're actually pretty good. And they get a lot of big celebrities come talking to them. And I am late to the show. I know that. They started this back in 2021? Or maybe even 2020? It's 2020, I think it is. And they've been doing it for, quite a few years. They made national news because they interviewed Bono, and they had Bono on and for an hour, and we're able to ask him some questions as things come on out. I've listened to a few of them. Tom Hanks, Colbert when he did it, Aquafina, very entertaining. I'm listening right now to Zach Galifianakis, but I listened earlier today to the Tina Fey podcast, and it was very interesting because Tina Fey, of course, a lot of these guys that they talked to came up through the improv comedy groups, and she started saying some things about improv comedy that reminded me of something. Now, and one of the things she was talking about is, when do you come into a scene? And it's an old adage of comedy improv, not when you have a joke, not because the scene's doing great and you just want to be part of it. When you're needed, that's when you come into the scene. And that's kind of one of those things they do comedy improv. Years and years and years ago, I used to do comedy improv. I did 2 stints with it in town, and the first one was a far more enjoyable situation. The second one, the organization was not being very well run, and it ended up kind of going under. But I was part of a group. I was with Comedy Olympics, and they used to have a little theater right off of Uptown there, where it was its own little building. It was a really kind of a slick setup over there. And I didn't come through the comedy improv channel. I didn't do that. I crack jokes. I can sing. I wasn't bad at singing. As a matter of fact, I was actually kind of shocked at how well I did sing. And I'm pretty quick on my feet, and that's kind of a prerequisite. So I did that for a while, and hearing Tina Fey talk about it today, that's kind of what brought it back. And I got to get a chuckle out of it, because I didn't do it very long. And the reason why I didn't do it very long was basically because as much of a neurotic, basket case that radio personalities are, we're like, diplomats at the freaking UN compared to the comedy improv people. The neurosis and oh my God. And wow. Yeah, it was something. It was something. I did it for a while. And the first time I did it, this was way back in the mid-90s, I did it. I was part of a group that was there for 8 weeks, and we were going to get evaluated. And it came something up when the guy that was doing the evaluation came up to me, and he says, Matt, I'm not going to be here for the final one, but I wanted to give you your evaluation. And it went as like I expected. There were some people that would get up on the stage, and holy God, were they good. There was a husband and wife couple that was part of the group that we were in, and they were just phenomenal. They were so funny. And I think they went on to Dudley Riggs, and I think they went back to Chicago. I think that's where they're at now. But they're phenomenal, hilarious, absolutely hilarious. I wasn't that, but I wasn't bad. And he said, here's the deal. He said, if you really wanted to do this, I think you could. You're pretty good. You're on your feet. You sing pretty well. You're kind of getting the rules of it all, and you could do this. And that was great. And he says, the last week, I'm going to have this other person in charge. I got to go out. He was heading out to, I think it was Los Angeles for, auditioning for a show. So he was taking off, and I was there, and I was like, great. So the last week we had this other person, this woman came and took control of the final week. And once again, this guy had already given out all the evaluations. She felt it was her need to put out an evaluation for everyone herself on the final week. Now, once again, he had done this. We'd done these things. We tried it, was okay with it, learned the rules. Bing, bing, bing. He said, you're doing okay. I can tell you didn't come through the channels, but you bring a lot to the stage. You're not the best, but you're not the worst. If you keep with it, you could do it pretty well. I was stunned when this woman, after we all, and I was not the only one, everyone got their evaluation from the guy at week 7, week 8. This woman walks around as we're leaving, hands every one of us a letter. I open it up. It's a 2-pager letter that was 7 paragraphs. It was 7 paragraphs. I'm here to evaluate you. Just the most brutal. You're not funny. You don't know what you're doing. You're not very good. You're blah, 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 blah. And I just started laughing. First of all, you really think I give a rat's caboose about what you think? Have you heard this show, folks? I mean, I've been doing this for 13 years. Have you heard this? Do you think I give a rat's caboose about anyone? Chad, but, really. No, I do my own thing, man. Always have, always will. And I already got the evaluation. You weren't supposed to give us an evaluation, but you gave us one. You can't do this. You don't sing very well. I don't like your grimes. You don't know this. You don't work with this. And we all apparently got this. She had written these letters, and they're all different. It wasn't like a form letter. She had written all these letters, typed them up on an old computer, just ripping all of us to shreds. And the final paragraph, I was like this. That being said, I hope we can still be friends. Oh, God. Sweet Lord. I praise anyone whenever I hear someone like Tina Fey that goes through this and actually makes it up to the top levels of the business, gets into Hollywood, gets into acting, gets into writing, gets into whatever. I have a lot of respect for that, because just in my little glimmer of doing this here in Minneapolis on a small group, on a stage, I can't even comprehend the neurotic fools that these people have had to deal with. That it just, once again, let me be blunt about the letter that I did receive. That wasn't about me. I've been even at that age, and I was much younger then. I was like late 20s. I even knew, looking at this, like, this is not about me. This is about you, and this is about you trying to make yourself feel better about yourself by doing this, because no sane person would ever do this. But it is amazing to me that certain industries, radio industry, comedy industry, comedy improv, the level of neurosis that's there. But God, for anyone that survives that and can come on out and go to like SNL, or like Colbert came out of that. He was the Second City down in Chicago. He went out, of course, the Late Show. So many of these guys, they go through it and they just end up excelling, and it's phenomenal. But it's funny when she said that, because it just reminded me, listening to her talk about that and the early days of that, it just reminded me of that whole story. And I went back and did it again. Did it again. It was very enjoyable. I had a good time doing it. But I had kids. That was, I think my second stint was early 2000s, and Charlie had just been born, my oldest. He'd just been born, and so it was kind of one of those things where me going out on a Friday and Saturday night was really not a. As a matter of fact, I think I did that, and I came home and my wife was looking at me with like eyeing the knife block in the kitchen, and then looking at me, and then eyeing the knife block and looking at me. It's like, you know what? I think I'm done doing comedy improv. I'll stay home and help you out. How about I do that? 952-946-6205. 952-946-6205. I'll tell you what, we'll take a break a little bit early here. I want to come on back. I want to get more into the Sanford thing, because I want to bring up the story from the Strib about Denny Sanford, and kind of how, Denny Sanford himself is not exactly I think turns a lot of people off just by who he is. But also bringing up my point, a very valid point, is that no one I can find has ever been told, you need this immediate procedure, you need to get to South Dakota. I want to bring that up as well. 952-946-6205. 952-946-6205. It's the Matt McNeil Show right here on AM 950.
Hey, it's Tom. Many local utility companies and cities have recently renewed incentives for installing solar panels in 2023. This is great news for people looking to go solar, but the electrical grid can only handle so many systems being added to their current infrastructure. The electrical grid has limited space for connecting solar energy systems, so it's important to secure your place on the grid and go solar before someone else takes your spot. All Energy Solar is hosting a winter webinar where you can learn more about local solar incentives and electrical grid congestion. These webinars are free and open to the public. no matter if your property is residential, commercial, agriculture, or even something else. And during your webinar, an expert from All Energy Solar will be available to answer all of your questions. If you're someone who has thought about going solar but are unsure if it's right for you, these webinars are a perfect way to learn more. Interested in attending? Visit allenergysolar.com/webinar to register for an event and see what incentives are available to you.
Hey, it's Patrick. February is the month for love, but when was the last time you gave your carpet the love and attention it really deserves? If your carpet hasn't been professionally cleaned, you are breathing unhealthy levels of nasty dirt, dander, bacteria, and germs that keep recirculating again and again. And what's worse, you're going to be stuck inside breathing that nasty stuff for months. Lucky for you, Zero Res is going to spread the love for you and your home with their Love Your Rug special. Get 3 rooms, Zero Resified from the Twin Cities' #1 carpet cleaner starting at just $119. Plus, this month only, they are throwing in a free hallway to sweeten the deal. But hurry, this deal won't last long. And because love has no limits, Zero Res is going to take $75 off your air duct cleaning. You owe it to yourself and your family to breathe healthy, happy, and clean. Call Zero Res right now, 952-ZERO-RES, or go online at ZeroResMinnesota.com and say you want the AM 950 special. Zero Res.
Hi, this is Ken Hageland, host of Living Healthy and Aging Well, inviting you to listen to our live call-in talk show airing every Saturday from noon to 1, where we talk about your health and your life and provide insights you need to know to live and age well. Each week, we talk with guests who provide answers to important questions regarding healthcare, elder care, end-of-life care, and self-care for caregivers, and help you and your loved ones plan for the future and enjoy your highest quality of life today. Please join us every Saturday from noon to 1 on AM 950 for Living Healthy and Aging Well.
Would you let animals pick your insurance? Do you really need to experience mayhem to get the best rates? Or how about a celebrity quarterback or fake university saving you money? There's a lot of marketing stunts when it comes to insurance, but what you really need is someone looking out for you. Call Array Insurance, and they will work hard to find you the best insurance coverage and rates. So avoid gimmicks and call Cheryl at Array, 763-504-3067, or arrayinsurance.com. Array Insurance, working hard for you.
AM 950, the progressive voice of Minnesota. It's the Matt McNeil Show. 952-946-6205, 952-946-6205. I have heard from multiple people, as I've kind of been very critical of the idea of Sanford Health buying Fairview because I don't trust them. I've heard from multiple people, including the Dallas, who's messaged me about, her personal experiences with Sanford Health. In the way it said, not even my right-wing North Dakota family has anything good to say about the company. That tells you a lot right there. Before I get into this, I want to make sure I'm very clear on the 2 reasons why I do not trust Sanford Health and this merger, and why I do not think this merger should be allowed to happen. Number 1 is the thing I have always said. I have never heard of anyone in this country saying, I'm at a doctor in Austin, Texas, and says, you know what you need to do? I need to get you up to Sioux Falls, South Dakota for a procedure. Never heard of it. I have for 2 weeks now. Now, I'm not talking about some guy that lives on the border of South Dakota on the Minnesota side who says, you need to get to the larger hospital over here because that's a service we don't provide. No, I'm talking like at the Mayo Clinic or some of the hospitals in Minneapolis, St. Paul, where they basically are told, if you want your kidneys looked at, your liver looked at, you want the cancer diagnosis, you want your brain looked at, I need to send you to the Mayo Clinic. I need to send you to Children's. I need to send you into the University of Minnesota Teaching Hospital. That happens. That happens a lot in Minnesota. We get people at medical tourism. People come up here because the quality of healthcare we have in Minnesota is the freaking best on the planet, for goodness sakes. I have never heard of anyone being told, you need that mole removed. You know where you need to go? Rapid City. No one says that. I've asked for 2 weeks of anyone. Does anyone, because I can tell you right now, I know people, I could get 4 people in here, maybe 5 people in here right now who do not live in Minnesota, who've had to come to Minnesota for medical care because they were advised by their doctor, their hospital, you need to go there. I've asked for multiple weeks here, has anyone ever been told you need to get to South Dakota for health care? No. Which tells you a lot about the difference here. Their healthcare system is not as good. And yesterday we talked, or was it the day before, we were talking about how Sanford has apparently given $1.5 billion to South Dakota's healthcare system, and it's still not that good. A good way to explain this to someone is, imagine you have Manny's Steakhouse, okay? Delicious steakhouse, top of the line. You're paying for it, but you get a good meal, okay? Now imagine McDonald's is taking over Manny's Steakhouse. Sure, technically they're both food outlets. Sure. But there's a bit of a step down in the quality of food that you're going to get from the McDonald's versus a Manny's. And I want you to ask this question of yourself. Do you think that the McDonald's is going to run the Manny's like Manny's needs to be run so you get the really good steak? No, of course not. They'll start cutting costs left and right. You don't need to do this. Then all of a sudden you're basically paying a lot of money for a fancy Big Mac. That's how it happens. And that's South Dakota healthcare. It's a fancy Big Mac. I don't want that. I don't think it's a good idea to have an inferior healthcare system by a superior healthcare system, because I guarantee you they're not going to keep it superior. Ta-da! Seriously, ask yourself, would you want a fast food restaurant buying Manny's Steakhouse? And if they did, do they think that that would be able to maintain the quality and the standards of Manny's? Of course not. Then why the hell would we want that to happen to our hospitals? Hospitals! Not a meal. The other thing is, I just don't trust them. This is an organization that the second they get in there, they start cutting staff left and right and left and right and left and right. Cut costs, cut costs, cut costs. Because it's about, as a non-profit system, it sure as hell seems a hell of a lot about profit. And I get the impression that hospitals will close, numerous people will get laid off, things will be expensive, quality of healthcare will diminish. Once again, McDonald's buying Manny's. So, those are legitimate questions. And frankly, once again, don't think I've seen enough urgency from the DFL in St. Paul to say, you know what, maybe we should drag Sanford in here and have them explain a few things. How are you going to maintain a much higher quality of healthcare system in Minnesota when your systems in South Dakota don't even come up close to matching the quality of healthcare that we get here? For God's sakes, there are people in South Dakota who are told, you see where that hospital is that says Sanford? Drive past that and go to the Mayo Clinic in Rochester. Bon voyage. So there is some legitimacy here. It's not like I'm just flying off the handle saying that guy is donated to Republicans, which, by the way, I'll get to. There just seems like this is not a good idea. And sure as hell, we should not have the University of Minnesota Hospital anywhere near Sanford. Now, as I've prefaced this, you have heard two very legitimate reasons why I am not sure Sanford buying Fairview is a good idea. Let's talk about a few others, shall we? Denny Sanford's name is everywhere in Sioux Falls. His name is on the city's biggest sports arena, smaller arenas. He's loomed like a specter of the Twin Cities for the last 3 months as the company his money helped build, Sanford Health, attempts for the second time to merge with Minneapolis-based Fairview Health, by an extension, the University of Minnesota's medical system. Sanford, 87, is a Minnesotan turned South Dakotan. Is he the dude that's behind these? Everybody should move to Sioux Falls. No. Oh, yeah, sure. Let me just pack up the old jalop. Oh, no. I like Minneapolis. Thank you, though. And shame on any media outlet that was ever airing that ad. I don't know if he was or not. He was a Minnesota turned South Dakotan. I wonder if he was. He's a fortune estimated between $2 billion and $3 billion. Over the last 20 years, he's given nearly $1.5 billion to Sanford Health, and it's still not that good. Not as good as ours. He has now pledged the bulk of his estate to the healthcare system at his death. That might include Minnesota, if that's the case. It basically still unnerves some people, including me. Guilty as charged. Sanford's record as a major Republican donor, his habit of stamping his name everywhere, his entire presence is enough for some of the Twin Cities to wish away Sanford Health. Now, once again, I want to say this. Would you want McDonald's buying Manny's Steakhouse? And do you think that McDonald's would be able to maintain the quality and standards of Manny's Steakhouse if they bought it? No. That's my main problem. Staffing and quality of healthcare, number 2, which are kind of tied together anyway. Sanford grew up in St. Paul, graduated from the U in 1958. In the 1970s, made a small fortune with construction and specialty chemicals businesses in the Twin Cities. In the late 1980s, he bought a bank in South Dakota, renamed it First Premier, and then took advantage of the state's usury laws to start a credit card business that included a line of subprime offerings. That's basically jargon for high-rate cards aimed at people who barely could qualify for the credit card. So, yeah, he tells you a lot right there about where a lot of his money came from. Sanford Health Fairview tried to merge in spring of 2023, but they gave up after the state's then Attorney General asked some tough questions about Sanford's business, even though he had no operational role in the health system. The Star Tribune at the time wrote a lengthy feature about Sanford's dealings in Sioux Falls. Today, after the Trump presidency and other business scandals of the last decade, he needs it reads as a fairly mild indictment. A decade earlier, he was known as the Twin Cities of the Fourth the U effort to build a new football stadium. An attempt at early 2003 sputtered. In 2009, he donated millions of dollars to help build the stadium. In the last couple of years, he's made news for being under investigation on suspicion of possessing and distributing sexual content involving children. Yeah. The South Dakota Attorney General. Now, this is not exactly a not guilty thing. I want to read this line here. The South Dakota Attorney General's office announced last May it had determined there was nothing to prosecute within its jurisdiction. Dun, 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 dun. It would almost, it doesn't seem like that. That's saying, hey, there's no crime here. It says, hey, we've determined there's nothing to prosecute within this jurisdiction. I'll let you roll that one around in the old noggin for a bit. Sanford is still chair of First Premier. My attempts to reach him through the bank over the past weeks have failed. That's the writer of this article. It's possible to hold two thoughts about Sanford. He made a lot of money off people who are poor or in trouble, and then he's done very good things with the money he's made. I'm not denying that he has been somewhat philanthropic. I am not saying that. He has given money. There's no efficiency or certainty of justice when government makes choices about money either, though, especially in places where resources are scarce. Leaders pick winners and losers in a way that's similar to philanthropists telling some people yes and others no. Both Sanford Health and Fairview Health started as hospitals supported by Lutheran churches. They essentially remain that way until the 1980s and 90s when HMOs sprawled the for-profit hospital systems and the nonprofit ones started to combine to compete. Those deals kept rolling and have brought us this potential combination. Sanford's gifts will put the former Sioux Valley Hospital in Sioux Falls in a better position to thrive in that environment. We'll soon see whether they'll have positive or negative effect. Now, I want to be very careful here because I am a capitalist. I'm not like Republicans, and I'll tell you what. I'll take a break, and I'll come back and I'll say what I mean by that. I'm not like Republicans. I'm actually a capitalist. But there are some real big red freaking flags on this that I don't think this is a really good idea. And I think frankly, I'm somewhat disappointed. There's a lot of DFLers out there now who are not being much louder about this, because if a trained chimp like myself can look at this and say, well, are they going to basically round up all the best doctors in Minneapolis, St. Paul and order them out to South Dakota so that all of a sudden South Dakota gets our best doctors and they're going to move them out there and then we get their South Dakota doctors shipped off here? Don't know. Could possibly happen, couldn't it? I've got some questions. But I also think it's worthwhile for Democrats to take a step back and realize politically there's nothing wrong with asking the question of, is this really where we want to go with this? 952-946-6205, 952-946-6205. We'll take a break. Come on back. It's the Matt McNeil Show right here on AM 950.
Turn to Auto Technical with your vehicle donation. We have families waiting for a car. You know, over 85% of unemployed are successful in finding and keeping a job if they have dependable transportation. A car plus a job equals a life changed. 612-919-5526. We have families waiting for a car. 919-5526 or autotech.org.
Next Chapter Booksellers not only has a huge variety of books, but they also have many book clubs too. One is the Sci-Fi Fantasy Club. Join the last Friday of every month to uncover and rediscover forgotten classics, titles that blur genres, small press stunners, and much more. Every month at Next Chapter Booksellers, they'll have discussions that will challenge your perception and change the shape of your mind. Located off Snelling and Grand in St. Paul. Find more about the Sci-Fi Fantasy Club and other book clubs at nextchapterbooksellers.com.
This is Gregory Rich, host of Drink in the Style and owner of Habitation Furnishing and Design. People often ask me, why habitation for my home? Well, I could give you hundreds of reasons. I could talk about the extensive collection of furnishing suppliers or our exceptionally talented design team. I could talk about service, but the truth is, habitation clients come back room after room and home after home, and that speaks volumes. Habitation, put some drama into your interiors.
Hey, John, I heard you're turning 65 this year. Time to start comparing your Medicare insurance options.
I'm so overwhelmed with all the different Medicare companies and plan designs. I don't even know where to begin.
Really? I worked with CompareYourMedicare.com, and they made my Medicare decisions seem easy.
Oh, really? Well, what do they do?
CompareYourMedicare.com represents several of the top Medicare insurance companies in Minnesota. A local licensed agent will help you compare Medicare plans to determine which products best meet your needs and budget.
Hi, this is Jared with CompareYourMedicare.com. We're a local small business that prides itself in helping our community with their Medicare needs. Medicare is complex, but it doesn't have to be. Whether you're planning to retire early or work past Medicare eligibility at age 65, give us a call. We can guide you through how and when to apply for Medicare. Go to CompareYourMedicare.com or call 952-465-0074 to schedule a consultation. CompareYourMedicare.com is part of the Minnesota Health Insurance Network of agents.
With a look at your AM 950 weather, I'm Patrick Lilia. Cloudy tonight with a low of 7, then sunshine Thursday with a high of 19.
This is Angela Warner with Warner Stallion. If you've got a broken appliance or one you wish would break, don't settle for poor selection and don't pay a penny more than you should. Warner Stallion has thousands of in-stock appliances. Shop now at warnerstallion.com.
AM 950, the progressive voice of Minnesota. 952-946-6205, 952-946-6205. So, there is a legitimate question that can be asked here. Will profits from this new mega hospital chain go to Republican candidates to work against the Democrats? And you want to know the truth? A very legitimate question, if you ask me. It is a very legitimate question. I think that it is very you can't be that naive. A guy that basically has supported a lot of far right Republican funds and organizations and things like that, and politicians taking over here to basically then take money that he's made at the Fairview systems, the old Fairview systems, the new Sanford systems, and basically use that to basically push Republican politicians. I don't know if that's necessarily a good thing. Sanford's record as a Republican donor, his habit of stamping his name everywhere, his entire presence throughout some of the Twin Cities, is a wish away for Stanford Health. I try, obviously, in my role to not allow myself get caught up in that, said Bill Gates, and Stanford Health's CEO who's driving the merger effort. People have different perspectives on a variety of topics. We're thrust into political arena right now. And with respect to Mr. Stanford, I'll consider myself very blessed to be in an organization that he has chosen to support. So once again, I want to make sure we understand. This is a guy that works for the guy whose name is on the building in every building in that town. Do you think that he is going to go against Stanford's wishes in regards to politics? I don't know if that's necessarily the case. Now, I said something earlier before the break where I said, I'm a capitalist unlike Republicans. Republicans don't seem to remember what capitalism is anymore. I'll go with first Ron DeSantis down in Florida. He's basically trying to punish and control Disney, a private company who the last time I checked brings a lot of money into Florida because they dared to disagree with one of his political points. My God, that's freaking Mussolini right there. And so he and Republicans are out to insist on punishing Disney because they did not toe the Republican Party line. That's not capitalism. That's fascism. Okay? That is fascism. That when the political leaders try to start enforcing their will on the private business sector, that is enforcing the private business sector, a private company that sure employs a lot of people and has gotten some tax benefits and stuff, but the reality is it's a private company. Ordering a private company to do something or attacking a private company that disagrees with you, that's not capitalism. That's fascism. Germans did it all the time. Going in, the Nazis went all over in Germany in the 1930s and 40s and took over private businesses and ordered private businesses to do certain things. And if you dare disagree with the official Nazi party line in 1940s Germany, you were removed and the state took over your business. I shouldn't give the Republicans any ideas, should I? How about we go over to, was it DirecTV? Which dropped Newsmax and OAN. Now, if you haven't heard this story, I mean, it's pretty damn funny. So the big news networks, the CNNs, Fox News, MSNBCs, they get paid by DirecTV to be carried by DirecTV because they're large. They have large fan bases. And I want to make sure we put things in perspective. You know, they act as if, wow, they got 1 million viewers in a night. Well, yeah, that's a lot, but it's a country of 330 million plus people. And so it is a lot of people, but it's not a lot of people. You know what I mean? And so it's a lot for the ratings, but still, that's what you get. OAN and Newsmax do not get even close to that kind of number. What I think, I can't remember, was it OAN first or Newsmax went to them and said, you have to pay us so we can carry this, or else you can't carry us. Okay. Well, then we're not carrying you. And this is why all the Republicans are throwing their hands in the air and screaming at the top of their lungs. They want to force a private company to pay another private company because they like that second private company money and give them distribution, which once again, they don't want to do. They would do this if it didn't demand this, but they're trying to force entertainment outlets that carry television channels, force them to carry a news channel that they don't want to and pay them because they like the news channel that's there. That's not capitalism. That's fascism. That is fascism. And Republicans like to go on out there with social media, and even though they are constantly posting on social media about how oppressed I am on social media, yeah, what they don't want you to know is that those little boo-boo kitties, those little clutching of the pearls, oh, where's my fainting couch? I'll borrow that one from Steph. Where's my fainting couch? Those Republicans are the ones who are constantly trying we're constantly trying to force Twitter to pull off all Democratic content because that's what their real goal is. They don't want hearing an opposing viewpoint. And so that the social media pages not pulling down all the Democratic content while promoting the Republican content, even though it was outright lies and frankly dangerous for the American people to have a bunch of clown cars talk about just drink some bleach and you'll be fine from COVID. Oh, you know what? What you need to do is there's a horse dewormer in the horse section of your local farm store. What you need to do is go in there, unhook your overalls, bend over. Okay, you're gonna have to, you might need some help with this in a flashlight. You know, you guys actually took horse dewormer, and some of you jammed it up your backside. Hey, I'm all for sexual experimentation. Clang, clang, clang goes the trolley. But, yeah. Oh, God. Well, maybe it opens some eyes for you. I mean, it's just, it's like, hey, what's going on down here? I don't know. I still chuckle about that because for a bunch of uptight guys that seem to hate alternative lifestyles, well, all of a sudden someone suggests something in the medical aisle from a certain orange former president, and guess what? You guys are all freaky deaky getting your harnesses and straps. Well, off you go. Anyway, you still, though, are trying to control a private company as they are trying to be neutrally regulating messages. But because you didn't like the fact that your messages, which were based on lunacy, were getting blocked because they were a danger to the American public or hate speech, for a private company to block you, that's wrong. While at the same time, you and your boo-boo kitty little feelings were trying to get every Democrat blocked. Once again, private company. That's not capitalism. That's fascism. I just gave you 3 examples of it. The Republicans have turned a corner that corporate America has to support them and their policies, or else. That's not capitalism, that's fascism. Sanford has been giving money to Republican organizations that have now started going down this line. It's not Democrats, DFLers. I am not asking you to be anti-capitalism. But I will say this, you can't be surprised if you allow this to go through and all of a sudden profits from the hospital system are somehow being routed into funds and lobbying groups that are only going to the most loonball far-right extremists in the state. Now, that does not have to be your justification to deny this merger. I think the McDonald's Manny's thing was pretty good. Would you trust would you trust an Arthur Treacher's Fish and Chips to take over the Ocean Air? Because Ocean Air is delicious. Oh, God, last time I was there, had the sea bass. Mwah, magnifique. It was fantastic. And some of those Point Judith mussels, just delicious. But would I want White Castle to take over the Ocean Air? White Castle, wow. Would I want that? Could I expect the same quality of food if White Castle took over that restaurant? Well, that's Sanford Health, a South Dakota-based inferior healthcare system taking over the gold standard of the United States and the world, for that matter, Minnesota healthcare. So there is a very legitimate reason for you to be concerned about this. But I would not be, nothing against Gasson, but he works for the guy with the name on the building. And that guy has let his opinion on politics be known. This is a bad idea, guys. This is a bad idea. This almost feels like what they're trying to do is add legitimacy to his healthcare system, which he can't get up to the quality of ours by basically purging off a bunch of ours. My gut feeling would be he'd cut a lot of the staff, cut the nurses, probably force the unions out, drive up the costs, have worse care, and then the profits would be going back overseas, over the into South Dakota, And on top of that would be going out to running Republican candidates. If you care about healthcare, I would go over this merger proposal with a fine freaking tooth comb. And frankly, with the one demand that Sanford is putting forward, that the healthcare headquarters has to be in Sioux Falls, South Dakota. Let me ask you something. Is Rochester, Patrick, is Rochester still the AAA affiliate for the Twins?
No.
What is it now? Is it Salt Lake City?
It's St. Paul, actually.
Oh, that's thank you. Thank you. I remember that story. I appreciate it. I remember that. Thank you. St. Paul Saints. Let's say the Twins have the organization over at Target Field. They've got their management there. Would you want the management and everything to move over to the Saints field? It's still part of the same organization, right? Yeah, it's the AAA affiliate, right? But wouldn't you want to have the management, the organization at the top level, at the premium level with the top team? Of course you would. Of course you would. So yeah, you have I'll even maybe that one's a little too close for that. You got the Chicago Cubs. All right. Now, no one's exactly cheering that team on too much lately. The AAA affiliate for the Chicago Cubs is the Des Moines Cubs. Do you think the Iowa Cubs in Des Moines, do you think the Chicago Cubs should move their management team out of Chicago and into Des Moines? Still part of the same organization. That's the argument they'll make. If you bring it down there, it'd be great. But no, shouldn't the leadership team be with the best quality of product? I don't think that they should be able to move the headquarters for Fairview out of the city of Minneapolis, St. Paul. I think that should be a Minnesota-based company because we're the top level of quality talent here. If I can bring up these points, if I can bring this out and I can make a salient argument, where the hell are the rest of the politicians in the state on this as well? I hope that money hasn't been getting spread around. 952-946-6205, 952-946-6205. We'll take a break, come on back. I want to talk about the Supreme Court ruling in Minnesota on felons and voting. We'll talk about that as well. It's the Matt McNeil Show right here on AM 950. It's lights out at Rudy Luther Toyota. Are there some mysterious lights lighting up your dashboard? Then head over to Rudy Luther Toyota and have them check out your vehicle to make sure it's safe. And scheduling an appointment is really easy. Head to rudyluthertoyota.com. Click on the lights out section and then follow the simple instructions to schedule up your service that fits your schedule. Then bring in your vehicle and have them turn those lights off. It's lights out at Luther. To schedule up your lights out service appointment, head to rudyluthertoyota.com.
It's an absolute must for any true foodie. Vinaigrette at 50th and Xerxes in South Minneapolis offers premium oils and vinegars for the most discriminating of tastes. This is Sarah Piepenberg, owner of Vinaigrette. We bottle on site, there's no guesswork, and you get to taste test each and every oil and vinegar we offer. Our direct relationship with the growers ensures an uncompromised level of satisfaction. When you need to know you're cooking with the finest ingredients, first contact the independently owned Vinaigrette, 50th and Xerxes in South Minneapolis. Online at vinaigrettemn.com.
This is Ross Stadheim, partner at MJSB Employment Justice. When you've been wronged at work or something just doesn't feel right, it's hard to know what to do next. Our firm can help. We pride ourselves on communication and listening to our brave clients to obtain their own brand of justice. When you hire MJSB Employment Justice, you're not just a number. You're a valued client who will be represented by one of our experienced and accomplished partners every step of the way. That's our promise.
Be heard. You deserve better. Contact us today at mjsbjustice.com.
Habitation presents a radio drama. To buy or not to buy, that is the question. Whether 'tis nobler to compromise and live with a sectional that doth not fit my space, or to take up arms against a sea of mediocrity, and by opposing it, to rest, to be comfortable, to enjoy the space that is my home. Hi, this is Gregory Rich, owner of Habitation Design and host of Drink in the Style. I'd like to personally invite you to our new showroom located in the District at Edina, 7777 Washington Avenue South. Habitation, put some drama into your interior design.
So White Castle takes over Ocean Air, per se. Welcome to the Ocean Air. Would you like to try the squid slider? Oh, no. We have a crab ring for you. Oh, if that merger goes through, I think we're going to get a lot of squid sliders, kids. Oh, yum. Ugh. Oh, God. In other news here, the state Supreme Court ruled Wednesday that barring felons from voting doesn't violate the Constitution, a long-awaited decision that arrived just as the DFL-controlled legislature is preparing to change the law. DFLers are moving to restore voting rights to felons as soon as they're no longer incarcerated. Under current law, those released from jail or prison must wait till they're off probation and have paid their fees to get their voting rights back. Supporters say that disenfranchises roughly 50,000 felons on parole or probation, violates the core of the U.S. principle on no taxation without representation. The decision written by Justice Paul Thiessen affirmed the lower court's action. The ruling wasn't unanimous, though. Chief Justice Laurie Gildia and Barry Anderson concurred, but wrote a separate opinion. Justice Natalie Hudson wrote a dissent. Thiessen wrote that every member of the court agrees that the right to vote is fundamental, but the people of Minnesota all have the power to define in the Constitution who can and cannot vote, who has the right to vote. He wrote an opinion also signed by Justices Margaret Chudich and Ann McKeague, as well as Gordon Moore. The opinion recognized the troubling consequences, including the disparity of racial impacts on the current laws, but pointed out the legislature has the power to change the law to address the public policy concerns raised by the lawsuit. We should all take care that persons not be deprived of the ability to participate in the political process out of fear of our fellow citizens. In her dissent, Hudson, the state's only sitting black justice, said the law is unconstitutional because it disenfranchises black and Native American voters at much higher rates, which I kind of once again agree with Hudson on this one. She includes graphs detailing how the law impacts racial minorities who are incarcerated at higher rates than white Minnesotans. So what you're basically doing is disenfranchising certain race of voters because of this, by proxy, by just saying there, considering you were removing the fact that the population of prisons is overwhelmingly minority, a lot to do with biases within society, and then henceforth just ignoring that and saying, well, it's still a fair system. And I disagree with the idea that it is fair. The court effectively sanctions the pernicious statutory racial classification regime that maintains the disenfranchisement of a large swath of Minnesota's communities of color, thereby diminishing their political power and influence in the state. We are better than this. She noted there is broad consensus that re-enfranchisement of felons is critical for rehabilitation, in part because voting is an ultimate act of civil engagement. And I completely agree with that. I think that if the goal of a prison is to rehabilitate someone, well, what does that mean? Does that mean that the person doesn't have the same rights after the fact? Well, isn't the point to go, they sacrifice their rights by getting put into prison because they committed a crime, or if alleged to be committed a crime, or, we're looked at much more stringently because they're of their minority race. The reality is once they're done, shouldn't they have the right to be able to be good citizens and vote? Of course they should. It does sound like, it does sound like the DFL does have the votes in both chambers to get this passed and change this law, which is a good thing. But And to a point, I get where the majority opinion comes from, but you got to ignore a lot for you to get to that opinion. And I'm done freaking ignoring a lot, okay? I agree with Hudson on this one. The system is inherently unfair, so unfortunately this is inherently unfair, so that's a fact. Native Roots Radio comes up in the 6th. Have a good one. We're back tomorrow. Till then, see ya.
Hi, this is Kirk Dockwell with the House Geeks and host of the Twin Cities Real Estate Show here on AM 950.